Hi everybody, my name is Rosalie and welcome back to my channel, Back to Chubby. This week on Do It With Me Weight Loss, there's only one thing I really want to talk about before we get started meal prepping together, and that is convenience versus nutrition. This week, I've sort of hit a point where going for the convenient option is getting me a little bit in trouble. If you've seen this series before, you know that I like the pre-cooked, pre-packaged chicken because it saves me a lot of time and energy and effort on meal prep day, and it makes things go a lot faster and it's a lot easier for me. But it has a lot of sodium in it that just chicken you cook yourself doesn't have. I mean, I knew that on some level, but I guess I just didn't fully register it until I was looking at all of the nutrition stuff for this week. In addition to the chicken, rather than having sort of like a healthy fat like avocado, I went with olives because they're fast and they're cheap and they're easy and they store really well in the refrigerator, whereas with an avocado, I'd probably have to cut it up every day or every other day just because they get kind of brown and weird and mushy in their fridge. It's not really that much extra work, but I'm super lazy. So it was enough extra work for me to just grab the olives, which also have a lot of sodium. And so things like that, and like for example, Aldi's didn't have low sodium black beans or no salt added corn, and I didn't want to make an extra trip like to Walmart or something because again, I'm lazy. And so that added more sodium for this week. And then there's a few other hiccups, but comparatively to when I just would eat out all the time and eat fast food all the time, it's still much healthier. But if you're following along with me and some of the nutrients are concerning to you this week, then just don't be like me, I guess, and put in a little bit of extra work, and that should negate some of that. Another thing is that this week, for whatever reason, it seemed like things were just working against me when I went to the grocery store, and I only have like 20 things on my list, and they didn't have 5 of those. I mean, that's weird. So it's kind of annoying have to like stand in the grocery store and pull up your MyFitnessPal or whatever the case might be and compare the nutrition to everything in front of you and make a new choice when you had your whole week planned out. But it can also get a little bit more expensive that way. And normally that's what I would do, is just go to the store and grab whatever I want, but I've started to get into a routine where I'm very prepared when I go. Which saves me not only time, but money. And since I now have a fridge full of pre-prepped meals, I don't have a lot of space for extra stuff. So knowing exactly what I'm getting before I go has been a big help for the past month or so. I don't know if it's just my anxiety or if I'm just such a creature of habit, or if I'm so desperate to actually keep losing weight. I don't want to screw up. But I found it a little bit hard to make choices in the store like right then. I don't know why. It's kind of annoying. But anyway, so this week, for example, I'm having hummus again. I was gonna get tzatziki sauce, which has less sodium and more protein and a few fewer calories, but they didn't have it. I was gonna get pita bread and they didn't have that, so I got something else instead. I was gonna get Roma tomatoes, and the main reason I usually get those is because they're cheaper, but they didn't have any left, so I ended up getting cherry tomatoes, so that's about 4 times more expensive. And just a few other things that just added up really quick. So because a few of the things that I had to get weren't what I was expecting to get, and because they didn't have some of the things I wanted, my grocery list for this week ended up being $85 instead of around the $75 that it has been. But that's still not bad. $85 for 2 people for 6 days for every meal included is pretty great. So I hope you guys enjoy the food this week, and let's go ahead and get meal prepping. First, I'm just going to go ahead and crack my eggs into a big bowl. If you're interested in limiting some of the cholesterol, you can certainly separate the yolks out, but you will need more egg whites to make up the difference in volume. Then I'm just going to go ahead and scramble it all together, and I'm not going to put anything in it yet. I'm just going to put it in the fridge until I'm ready to use it. While that's in the fridge, I'm going to go ahead and chop up my mushrooms. And I'm going to chop them up fairly small, just so I can fit more into each cup. And then, this is sort of a trick for you. It's really hard to chop spinach. It just sort of bends the leaves. But if you sort of mush it up or roll it up, and I usually like put an extra leaf around just to hold it there, then it's much easier to chop it. There's actually a name for this, but I cannot remember it for the life of me. And there you go. Next, I'm going to actually make the cups. I'm just going to take a piece of ham and gently press it into a muffin tin, which I've already greased. You want the edges to stick up, but if they don't all the way, or if they're sort of falling in, it's not that big of a deal. It does not have to be perfect. Once you get them all shaped, go ahead and fill them with your vegetables. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the mushrooms in first. Again, I'm not really being exact here, and you're probably going to have some left over, but I mean. And then I'm going to add the spinach. If it looks like the cups are overflowing, don't worry about it. It doesn't have to be perfect, and the eggs are going to push it down anyway. Finally, I'm going to take a measuring cup, and I'm using about 1/3 of a cup here to fill the little muffin tins. If it goes outside of the ham, don't worry about it. As long as you've greased your muffin tin, it should still come out no problem. And then I'm going to add the feta cheese here. I'm going to start with a teaspoon per little cup, and then add more until it's all even as I need to. Then I'm going to bake this at 350 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes. I think I went for 25. Once it comes out, let it cool all the way before you run a spatula around the edge, just to make sure that it's not stuck. And then once you've got them all separated, go ahead and pop a couple out and put them into your meal prep containers. So essentially each person is going to get 2 eggs a piece, 2 pieces of ham, etc. Then I'm going to put some grapes, which I've already plucked and washed here, and move on to lunch. I'm going to put some tuna in water, not oil, into the container. I really am not going to do anything with it right now. I'm just going to go ahead and stick some bread in there. This was the closest they had to pita bread, but I'm going to go ahead and stick that in the container. And then get out my cherry tomatoes. If you're one of those people who really can't stand eating tuna by itself, I recommend either adding some mustard, which basically has no calories in it, or if you really want to make tuna salad, you can also try using some plain Greek yogurt because it's a lot healthier than mayonnaise. For dinner, I'm going to go ahead and prep everything I can first, starting with some plain Greek yogurt, which I'm using instead of sour cream. It has sort of the same taste and consistency, but this is about 1/4 cup, and the same with the salsa. I'm just going to pop the lids on and set those aside for now. For my corn and black beans, I've already washed and drained them, and I've already chopped my olives, and right now I'm just going to move all of this to the side until I need it. This is just plain brown rice. If you're one of those people who likes cilantro in your Mexican food, this would probably be the best time to add it. But I'm just going to stir it and make sure all the water is absorbed and then set it aside again. I'm going to go ahead and put 2/3 of a cup of rice in each container. I followed the directions on the package to make 2/3 of a cup for each container, but for some reason it yielded a lot more than it should have. So I'm just going to go ahead and spread that around and then change the stats on MyFitnessPal to reflect the extra rice. Then I'm going to add about 1/2 cup of corn to each container and about 1/2 cup of black beans. Next, I'm going to use my Southwest chicken strips that I got at Aldi. Each container is about 2 servings worth, so I'm just going to split this between 2 containers and then throw the plastic away and get out another one. This is actually 1 serving of shredded Mexican cheese, which is 1/3 of a cup, which honestly seems kind of like a lot. But I'm going to do that to each container and then spread out my sliced olives. I'm not being really exact, but if you just spread them around, you're going to end up with the equivalent of 3 or 4 a piece, 3 or 4 olives a piece. Then I'm going to put my Greek yogurt and salsa in each container, just sort of nestle them in there, and you are good to go for dinner. Finally, for snacks, in addition to having an orange each day, I'm going to have some broccoli and hummus. So if you just sort of chop from underneath, the little florets will fall off pretty easily, and then I'm going to divide those into containers. Next, I'm going to roll up and put in the turkey I have. And I already went ahead and doled out the hummus, but rather than using these little cup lids, I don't want to wash them, so I'm just going to sort of nestle this in here. And then when you go ahead and put the lid on one of these containers, if you have it, then it's actually basically going to work as a lid for both the hummus and itself. So you see this is flush with the top and it doesn't shake or move out, so that just saves me from having to do more dishes later. And that's that. And this is what a full day will look like. Alright, that's meal prep done. Pretty fast and easy. The more you meal prep and the more practice you have at it, the faster it goes. The first time I meal prepped, it probably took me, I don't know, 10 hours maybe, just because I really didn't know what I was doing, and I wasn't very good at multitasking. But now I've gotten it down to a few hours, and that's mostly just because I have to like start filming, stop filming, set up the shot, things like that. Anyway, please like this video if you got any good meal ideas out of it, or if you plan to follow along with me. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and let me know in the comments down below if you have any meal prep ideas or any recipe suggestions, things like that, because I'd love to have some more input from you guys. It'd be really easy for me to do the same thing over and over every week, but that'd get pretty boring for me and my husband and kind of boring for you. So yeah, please comment down below and let me know what you think about it, or if you're going to follow along how you're doing on your weight loss journey. I've found so many people that are also doing their own weight loss stuff right now, and the community here on YouTube is amazing and supportive and helpful and friendly and welcoming, and I just can't say enough good things about it. So leave me comments down below and I'll try and get back to all of them. As always, something might slip through the cracks, but I want to hear from you and I want to talk to you, and I want to do this together if we can. Be sure to head over to my blog, which I'll link down below, along with all of the meal prep containers that I used this week, to get the meal plan, the nutrition information, and the shopping list. The gropping list. Thank you guys very much, and I will see you on Friday with another weigh-in and vlog. Hopefully where I don't cry. I won't cry. I promise I won't cry. I shouldn't promise. It'll be better.